Life Rhythms with Ryan Skyy. Observing the world around me, looking inward, trying to make sense of it all. Welcome to Life Rhythms Radio Show. I'm your host, Ryan Skyy. This episode is brought to you by Mixilary.com. I'm excited to have Mixilary on as a sponsor personally because Mixilary is all about connecting people who are looking to hire a remixer. It's a platform that you can use to find and hire someone to remix your song. And why that's so important is because anybody can go online and you can search music producers, you can search for remixers, you can hire somebody, but it's like, how much do you pay them and who should you hire and what genre should you choose? And with option overload, it can be a little overwhelming to figure out what's the best use of your money. Because what it comes down to is remixes are marketing tools. A remix of a record will get that record in front of a larger audience. It will get that record played in venues and areas like the gym or a club or a car or a fitness studio, places that maybe your original song may not be appropriate for. So it is an important marketing tool, but then who remixes it is important because, first of all, the quality of the remix, and also maybe they have their own audience that's going to discover this remix. Maybe they have a following. Maybe they have a radio show. Maybe they tour and they'll be playing it out live. These are all sorts of things that are important. So Mixilary is a service that will help match you with the best remixer for your budget. So check out Mixilary.com for more information on this. Life Rhythms is a radio show that revolves around my personal growth journey. As a DJ and a producer, I spend a lot of my time observing the world around me, looking inward, trying to make sense of it all. I've been doing it in song form and now I do it on the radio show. Each episode of Life Rhythms, we feature one guest and one song or album for that artist. And I choose topics related to the music for us to talk about. And I'm excited for today because I have here in the studio with me, Aviella, joining us. And we're featuring her single, Scared to Love Again, which we played a little bit of it coming into this intro. This conversation's fun. We're going to talk about the inspiration behind Scared to Love Again. We go into the lyrics, but there was some inspiration behind it. A little bit of cheating happened, a little bit of betrayal. But the song was kind of like, we talk about, it's like a therapeutic thing for you. But now you're really, it's so empowering to write about something emotional and then to be putting it out.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And then now here you are talking about it on the show, but you've moved on, you've got new love in your life. And we also talk about, because I noticed right when I met you how just that your energy is so positive and bubbly, and then on air, you finding out that you started out doing over 50 features, of being featured on over 50 songs. And I'm like, okay, it takes a very special mindset for someone to go from New York to LA to do all those features. And now you're in your own artist project. You were nominated for Best New Artist by the EDM Awards last year. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to dive into Scared to Love Again with Aviella here on Life Rhythms. Welcome back to Life Rhythms Radio Show. I am your host, Ryan Skyy. Adobe family, I've got in the studio with me my guest today, Aviella.
Hello.
Welcome to Life Rhythms.
Thank you for having me.
You're so bubbly.
Thank you.
I love it.
So are you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like I do see like a little bit of like a kindred spirit in you.
Thank you.
Sunshine, bubbly, like I'm all for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I complimented your hair when I first met you today in the parking lot. I'm just pointing that out. Like I love the purple and
thank you.
Is the color thing? Has that been part of your look for a while?
It's actually interesting that you bring that up because my hair did not used to be purple. Throughout high school, I wanted to be every different color. I tried everything. Red, I was blonde for a while. I had my natural color. Like I tried all different things and nothing really stuck with me until I dyed it purple. And I actually had an interview at Sony. I had a meeting and the lady that I was meeting with, this was freshly after the hair was purple. She was like, you should keep this. Like, this is you. And I was like, it's so crazy that you say that because I feel like purple is me. Yeah. And so since I dyed it purple, it's been, I don't know, maybe like 7 years now, 7-8 years.
Oh, really?
It's stuck with me ever since.
You would look so different as a blonde.
Isn't that crazy?
Like, I would see you differently. I would just assume you have a different personality.
Yeah. I feel like I never fully found myself until I dyed my hair purple. And then I was like, this is me.
I kind of feel that way about my blonde.
I love it.
Because when I went blonde, the same thing. I got compliments that I didn't get when my hair was brown.
Yeah.
People were like, keep this. This is you. Like, Yeah.
And it feels like you, right? Like
Yeah.
you were like you're like, yeah, this feels like me now.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
after I went blonde, when I see like Reese Witherspoon, I see her, she's blonde. I don't think she's naturally blonde, but like, I'm like, I get you.
Yep.
Because she's been blonde for years and years and years. And I'm like, don't ever be brown hair. Like, I just don't see that for her, you know?
She found it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So, okay, you're a singer and a songwriter.
Yes.
And an artist.
Yes.
And we're featuring your song, Scared to Love Again. We played a little bit of it in coming into this. It's all added in post-production. But did you start out, I love that you have your own artist project. You started out featuring, because you did a track with Slushy.
Yeah.
And you performed with Steve Aoki. So now you're putting out music on your own.
Yes.
Right? And so you started out as a songwriter and featuring?
Actually, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So I've been making music my entire life. I've always known that this is what I wanted to do. I'm actually from a small town in upstate New York. And I'll give you like the little backstory if you want to hear
East Coast vibes. Yeah,
East Coast vibes.
I want to know because I don't know that much about you.
Yeah.
I was saying off air that there's not a lot about you online. Otherwise, I'd be like super prepared. I would know all the deets, but I don't know it. So tell me, share it with us.
So I'm from upstate New York, a small little town called Fairport. Okay. And I've always known music is my everything. I begged my parents for so long to move to California. Like, it was my dream to be here and to do music, like, full time for real. And I convinced them one day. It took a lot of convincing. We moved here when I was 14. So I've been here like, wait, how?
1 year.
I just turned, I just turned 26.
I've been here like 4 months.
No, we moved here when I was 14. So it's been a while now. I still feel fresh here for some reason, though. Like, I feel like I wake up every morning, I'm like, wow, I'm in LA. This is crazy. Like,
wait, so how many years has it been?
So since I was 14, I just turned 26. So time flies. It's been like a long time. I'm bad at math.
Yeah, okay. So 14, 26, so that's 12.
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah. Something like that.
I'm curious, like when you first moved here, like at what point when you moved here did you feel like you were really hitting your stride in your career? Like, is that more recent?
Yes. I started off a few years back in the EDM space, top lining. So I would work on a lot of different projects. I would be sent a track by a producer or a DJ, and then I would write over it, record it in my little room studio that I created on GarageBand, and I would send it back. And it just kept happening that way over and over again until it went like 50 features went by. And I really felt like I wanted to find my own sound.
Like you were on 50 features,
yes.
Or you wrote for 50?
No, they were songs I was featured on.
I didn't realize you were on that many tracks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot of that, and I absolutely loved it. I feel like that's where I met so many cool people, and a lot of it was also corresponding via the internet, which was really interesting too.
Yeah.
But then like once I would work with someone for, let's say, like Slushy, I would work with him online and then meeting him in real life like 5 years later, and we're like, oh, hey, let's perform together. Like, it's just such a cool thing.
Yeah.
So I did that for a long time and then wanted to really focus on my own artist project. So I set my sights on getting signed to Dimmock, Steve Aoki's label, and I met the vice president at an industry party, which I went to completely by myself, didn't know anybody there, but I knew he was going to be there. So I tapped him on the shoulder and I introduced myself, and he was like, oh, actually, that's crazy because I saw you perform last week with Quicks, and it was at a venue in LA. So he had already been familiar with what I was doing. And we ended up having meetings for like a year back and forth where I would just show him my huge folder of things that I had written until I met Steve Aoki, and he was like, I'm going to remember you. And then 6 months later, I was signed putting out music as my own artist.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Are you spiritual?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like when these things happen, I always wonder how people interpret it. Like, how do you interpret it when these kind of like serendipity moments where you're meeting people by chance or you know something and it's just kind of working out? Like, how do you see that?
I mean, I think a lot of it in this situation was preparation. Like, I've been doing this my entire life, but I'm very much the type of person that's like, when things are meant to happen, they will fall into place the right way. And I think that was just the perfect moment of that. Like, all my life I had been working for it and ready for it and hungry and always learning. And then when this moment happened, I was like, wow, okay, this really feels like the right fit.
Yeah. There's a spiritual teacher, Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you heard of her.
No.
But she always says like getting ready to be ready. Like you should be getting ready to be ready. And I never really understood it, but now I get it. It's like you were getting ready all those years.
Yep.
And then when you met Steve, you were ready.
Yeah.
Because you were getting ready to be ready.
Yep.
So I get it. It's like kind of confusing to me, but I get.
Yes.
I understand. And were you always spiritual?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's interesting to me, because I was raised Catholic, and then I fell away from it for a while, and then another spiritual teacher I follow, his name's Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about how usually when people have an awakening, they become spiritual. It's either one of two things happen, like either they come in contact, or either something tragic happens in their life, and that tragedy is kind of like a doorway, and it like opens the spiritual dimension, or they're lucky enough to just come across a spiritual teaching before something tragic happens.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So for you, which was it for you?
That's a really interesting way to look at it. I've honestly never thought of it that way. Yeah. I think, okay, so taking it back a little bit, my great-grandmother, she was a huge influence on my life, and I didn't really know her very well because I was very young when she passed. But as I got older, I really wanted to give back, and the nursing home that she stayed at, I learned a bunch of oldie songs, and I would go in and I would sing for all the elderly people in the nursing home, and I felt such a strong connection to her, and even to this day, I feel like she's just like guiding me through life. Like I see feathers, I see ladybugs, I see things that constantly remind me of her. And it's crazy because I never really knew her very well. My mom was really, really, really like, they had an amazing relationship, the two of them. So she was close to her.
What? So she's kind
that
of
was
like
her grandmother.
Like, oh, so it's your great grandma.
My great grandma.
Maybe she's like an angel in your life. Are your parents spiritual? Yeah. So so it's like you were kind of taught, like it was a teaching.
Yeah.
You're lucky. 'Cause not all of us had. Well, I guess I had it too, but I had to discover it. Like I said, I fell away from it, and then I had my boyfriend committed suicide.
Oh,
it's like,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but that honestly, that was like a gift that he gave me because I didn't believe in anything at that time, and when that happened, it got me to like question everything.
Wow.
I wasn't pursuing music at the time. I was in New York. I was working a corporate job. I went to college for music. But like I was in New York not doing it. And then when he died, it got me to really question everything. Like, what am I doing with my life? What do I want to do? Like what matters?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's when it set me on my path to like spiritual awakening. And it just led me to this sofa because I was in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it brought you all the way here.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. So your song, Scared to Love Again, I was doing a little research online and I found an article, Music Essentials article, and in it you were talking about the song is about feelings that come to the surface while navigating through past traumas and new relationships. I'm like, ooh, that sounds right up my alley. That's very interesting.
Well, we met at the perfect time.
Yeah. What? When did you write this song? Because it just came out.
Yeah, this song just came out. I wrote it around this time last year.
Okay. Was it inspired by a personal experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very personal, strange kind of situation.
Strange? Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually cheated on, unfortunately. But I feel like this moment of talking about it and where it led me to writing Scared to Love Again is just so
Isn't that interesting.
It's very interesting. Because I got in the room with Dyson. She's an amazing writer. And this was the first time we had ever worked together. And I'm sure you know, like, working in music, it's so cool because you meet people that you've never met before and then you're in a room with them writing and like pouring your heart out about things.
Yes. It's kind of crazy.
I know, it really is crazy to like be a human with a brain where like we're just in a room with someone that we've never met before and then we share all of these life experiences. So when we got in the room, we'd never worked with each other before and I had this song idea and I was like, I really want to write about this specific feeling. She was like, oh my gosh, I've been through that too. And we just immediately clicked and bonded and the song happened so quickly. It was like probably 15 minutes that we wrote it. And the song
that's a
was
good
like,
sign.
Yeah.
If you're in a room with someone you just meeting for the first time and you find a point of contact where you're both relating to something, that's always great sign. Because it's like, well, if us two strangers are relating over this topic, like I'm sure people listening to the song, there's a good chance that they could probably relate too. Yeah?
Yeah. Already I've had feedback from people saying like, I really resonate with this song. And that's amazing to me because it's something that I went through, and writing about it, you obviously hope that there are other people out there that will hear it and it helps in some way, or they're able to relate to it. And I feel like that's definitely the song.
Yeah. Are you on good terms with the person you wrote it about?
No.
No?
No.
Well, I mean, yeah, they cheated on you. So that's... But what a gift, though, because it turned into this beautiful song. Beautiful song.
Thank
Catchy.
you.
The melodies are stuck in my head. I love the part where you're like, the da 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 da. Can you sing it a little bit for it?
Which part?
The I think the damage that you did.
The damage that you did, still coming through. Didn't leave when I left you.
Yeah, and then after this,
now I'm with someone
this part.
else. It's like a living hell. Constantly doubt myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to comment on your voice. Love your voice.
Thank you.
And when I listen to your voice, I get imagery of like I see you on a stage with one of those old-fashioned microphones, like in black and white, like kind of like old. Mm-hmm. Like old Hollywood vaudeville, kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like 1920s, 30s
my gosh.
vibe.
You know what's so crazy that you say that?
What?
I actually acted in a movie where I am playing the part of a person who was like the epitome of old Hollywood in the 1920s.
What?
It's a movie about the Maybelline makeup brand. It's not out yet. But
oh my
isn't
God.
That crazy?
That is so insane.
And that was my part. I was like the muse of the Maybelline makeup. Like everything.
I hear it in your voice. Yeah, it's kind of like a muse kind of a voice.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's, It's so, like, it's such a gift to have a special, unique sounding voice, you know? Did you always love your voice, or did you learn to love, like, because it's unique. So I wonder, like, were you always like, my voice is unique, I love it, or were you insecure about it at first? Like, what was it like?
So I originally started off making YouTube covers when I was really little. My dad had a YouTube page that was just like our family account.
Okay.
And when I was like 9, I learned how to play guitar, and I would have my mom record me on our little flip camera at the time, the ones that used to have the little USB that you would plug in, the little flip cam.
Yeah.
And I started posting covers, and that's kind of how I actually got my start, was posting covers when I was really little. And I would learn the songs and I would post them up. And obviously, you see comments come in from all types of people, all different places around the world. And I think that like I never really thought about it as, do I like my voice? Like, did I grow into my voice? I just always am who I am.
Okay.
And obviously along the way, it's been like, when I was younger, I'd have meetings with people in music that would tell me certain things about my voice, or that it like wasn't meant for this or wasn't meant to do that.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how like executives, they have all these opinions?
But I have always felt so strong in myself and what I'm going to do, and like what I feel like music has just always been my calling, and to relate to people through music and to write and get my emotions out and have other people be like, wow, I went through this too. That to me is like therapy, and that feels like the reason why I'm here.
Yeah. What does it feel like for you when you're writing in a room? Like, the reason I ask is because a lot of people listening don't make music. They don't write music. They want to know, like, what's it like to be a songwriter? What's it like to go in a room and not even know what you're going to write about, and then come out however long later with a song that didn't exist prior? Like, what does that feel like inside? What's
amazing.
That like?
That's so thrilling to me. It like breathes life into me. It's so cool because for me personally, I have a notes app, like the notes app on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm constantly collecting ideas.
Do you keep like song title ideas? How do you, or just topics?
Just everything. I call it songwriting fuel. It's like big in my notes.
So even
songwriting
like
fuel.
phrases, ideas.
Quotes, poetry. Sometimes it's like a word, a feeling. Sometimes it's something that somebody has said throughout the day, or like a stranger says something. I'm like, oh, wow, like that could be a cool song. Those kinds of things that sometimes I'm not even really thinking about it until I sit down in a room and everyone's like, okay, what are we writing about today? And I pull up my notes app. I'm like, let me go through and see what I've recently collected. It's like my bag of goodies.
It's so helpful though. Yeah. I had on Punctual and Lewis Thompson, and it was the Punctual guys were saying how they have the song starters for songwriting.
Yeah.
And the one of them has like 600 song starters.
Wow.
You know, it's
Oh my
like
gosh.
600 beats. It's like, damn. Very useful,
I
though.
believe it.
Especially when you're in a room with somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
It's a great way. It's like, okay, well, I think these ideas are interesting. So let me just, like, you just share. And then whatever kind of resonates with people, you're like, okay, cool. We both found something we can work with.
Yeah.
Did you always do that, or did you have kind of like a mentor or somebody kind of give you some tips of the trade?
I think it's just been experience of doing it for so long and with so many different people, because I did not used to write that way.
Yeah.
It used to be just me by myself.
Yeah.
And because I think the internet, where I would just get a bunch of tracks coming in and I would just write on my own, I didn't really start collaboratively writing in the room with other people until after those 50 features that I did.
So many. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
amazing, though.
Thank you.
Oh, Remix just let out a fart. See, I told you, my dog Remix is in the studio with us. He's a French bulldog. He's laying on the sofa next to me, and occasionally he snorts and he farts. Sidetracked. But I wanted to ask you about, okay, you were talking about the features, the 50 features. Oh, you didn't used to always write that way.
Yeah.
But when I look at your lyrics now, I can, and I was saying this off air, I can tell you're really writing from the heart.
Absolutely.
Were you always that vulnerable?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think I put out my first album when I was 11 or 12, and the iconic House of Guitars in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
It like shaped me to grow up there, and it was recorded there. And we put out the album, and basically it was all about just like my life growing up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like super deep or anything, but it was things that I was going through, like seeing my friends at school and making music. And I have a song titled Be That Girl.
Okay.
When I was like 11.
And
It's just like about being myself and staying true to who I am. And
okay.
like
and you were
following
11,
my dreams.
giving yourself advice at 11.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was doing at 11. I wasn't, I don't think I was giving myself advice like that. So you're really vulnerable when you're writing. Are you that way in relationships or in person as well? Because some people aren't. Some people like can only write about how they're feeling, and then they kind of like shut down when it comes to people.
No, I think I am how I am.
I was curious. Yeah.
I am the same way reflective to my writing as I am as a person in a real life situation, I feel like.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because I was saying to you off air that there's not a lot of information about you online, and I'm curious to know why. I'm in my head, like I haven't met her yet. I wonder, like, does she not like sharing about herself, or maybe
interesting,
or maybe this is like a new opportunity for her to share, and she's been wanting to. It just hasn't materialized, So, like, why do you think there's not a lot?
I
about
don't know.
You yet online?
Honestly, I will say this is the first time that I've had like a sit down thing like this where I'm talking about my personal life and things that I've actually been through. And for me, Scared to Love Again is the first song that I've really created this way, because a lot of times, as vulnerable as I feel like I am in my writing, I think that my common themes in my music has been like independence and being confident and following my dreams. And although those are things that I feel really strong and passionate about, this is the more vulnerable side of me that I haven't really shared very much of.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
But I also like your other music too. I noticed how feel good it was. You have a song called Inspiration, and I love the lyric in that song where you say, I will find the light in your soul. I'm like, damn, that's a great lyric. I will find the light in your soul. But I love how positive it is. I'm obviously I'm a positive person.
Yep.
So and when I make music, I'm personally very conscious. Like I won't ever put a song out that has any kind of lyrics or messaging that I don't want to proliferate out in the world.
Yep.
Like there's a place for the like, oh my God, I can't live without you. I'm nothing without you. I'm never going to put music out like that because I don't want to put out that message.
Yeah.
And also too, it's harder to write positive songs.
Ooh.
I think for most people because the mind skews negative. And I think it's a biological thing. I think it's like because if you think about it's like a survival adaptation.
That totally makes sense.
Like it's much more useful for the mind to be looking out for saber-toothed tigers than to be contemplating about how beautiful the sun is. And they say, even like in relationships, they say one bad interaction, you have to have 5 to 7 positive interactions to make up for the one negative. So like if you fight, you need to have at least 5 to 7 positive interactions to counterweight that, because the mind will
so crazy.
fixate on that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel the opposite of that. I feel like I always have my entire life. Like growing up, my mom is also very positive and she's very like glass half full person.
Yeah.
And she's my best friend. And ever since I was really little, she'll always say like, no matter what happens throughout the day, you have a brand new day tomorrow to wake up, and appreciate that and really soak that in, because every new day is a new opportunity. And that, to me, growing up hearing that all the time has always been a reminder of like, that's so true. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I have a brand new day. What am I going to do with it? You know, I want to obviously spend it in a way that I feel like I'm being true to myself and I'm being kind and I'm being the best person I can be to myself and to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a minute to learn that, but I feel the same way with that. I believe that now as well. I used to also, I used to like try to understand if something was good or bad in my life. You know, I used to label things in my mind like, oh, this is this is bad, this is good. But I realized like some of the worst things that's happened to me ended up being some of the best things. So now I realize like it's all good actually. You know, it's just kind of like it's how you look at it. Yeah. Yeah. But it's so great that you were taught that. Yeah. And you didn't have to learn that. Are there things as an adult that you've had to teach yourself?
I think,
you know what I mean? Like kind of like discipline yourself, or is there any lessons that you had to learn on your own that you didn't learn growing up?
Obviously, I think that's just like a part of maturing and growing into who you are and who you want to be and who you see yourself as and who you want to be going forward in the future. I think that life is just a constant learning. Like I'm not going to be the same person now as I am even tomorrow, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not the same person now as I was even last week. I'm constantly evolving and changing and shaping myself and learning to be better.
Hearing you say that reminds me of, do you know Jordan Peterson?
No.
He's a psychology professor in Toronto.
Wow.
But hearing you say that reminded me of something that he talks about, how he talks about us thinking in terms of thinking about ourselves in terms of a community of self. So like basically what he's saying is like there's you right now. There's the you in a year from now, 5 years from now, 10. And if you take all those versions of you and put them together, it's kind of like a community of you.
Yeah.
And that his advice is that we should be like making our decisions and acting in such a way, keeping that in mind, like doing it for, and basically, and he also says there's no difference between acting for the community of you and also acting for society. Like if you're showing up in a way that's good for all the different versions of you to come, then you're also showing up, you're also being like a good citizen, like you're showing up in the world.
Yeah, I love that.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
That's what I thought about when you were saying about the different versions of you.
I totally resonate with that. That's so cool.
Yeah. It's kind of like very meta. Oh, okay. We're at the end of segment 1.
Wow.
Didn't that go by fast?
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break.
Cool.
And when we get back, I want to go into this song, Scared to Love Again.
All right.
And I'd love to go into the lyrics.
Okay.
I'd love to go into all that stuff. All right.
Cool.
So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back on Adobe Radio. Welcome back to Life Rhythms Radio Show. I'm your host, Ryan Skyy. I've got my guest with me in the studio, Aviella, and we're featuring her single, Scared to Love Again, which we played a little bit of coming back into this. So, Aviella, a couple weeks ago, I had Kalina Zanders on.
Yes, I love Kalina.
And she was talking about, and the reason I bring her up is because she also started out featuring. And then now she's stepping into her own artist project.
Yep.
And when she was on Life Rhythms, she talked about how when you're just not just a feature, but when you're featured, when that's your thing, it's easy to kind of get, her words were, you can kind of get swept away. Like if you don't step into your own artist project, if you're being featured, it's kind of like the focus is on the DJ or the,
yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing it up with you is because you are stepping into your artist project. This song, and did you produce?
I did not produce this
But you
one,
do
no.
produce, right?
I do vocal production. I've done vocal production. And also, like, my favorite thing is when I'm in the room and I'm sitting there, like, and we're creating a song, I will sit there with the producer and be like, I really love that sound that you're using, or like, I think that we could do this or have this special vocal effect on it, and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you, as an artist, stepping into your artist project, was this always the goal for you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's just about navigating and getting there?
Yes, but I think at the same time, I'm still not opposed to those collaborations. I feel like that's what made me who I am. And I always am continuing to work with other people. It's always a collaboration. So I still really much enjoy working with other people and still featuring and working on tracks that way too.
Yeah.
I think like I'm not just specifically set on one thing.
Okay.
I like do a
I'm
little
happy
bit
to
of it
see you
all.
stepping into your artist project. I'm always happy to see that because
Thank you.
I really you're a talented songwriter and a vocalist, and I want to see you have your moment.
Thank you.
You know, I don't want to
Thank
see
you.
you get swept away.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That is one thing I've never honestly felt. I've always had the dream and the goal, and I've known that like this is what I'm meant to do, so I'm gonna do that. And I do feel like when I'm working on my own music, I obviously think that I feel the most me, but I do really also enjoy writing for other people and getting into their mindset too. And also like not just writing about my personal experiences, but putting myself into someone else's shoes. So I feel like songwriting for me is just like the coolest thing ever.
So you're putting yourself in their shoes. Like, what is that like? Do you like asking questions and collecting data?
Yep.
And yeah. But see, that's what I do on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of like, gymnastics for my brain.
Yes.
Like I collect data and then I'm like, ooh, let me analyze. Let me see if I can understand this person. You're the same way?
I'm the same way. And I think it's so fun.
It is so fun.
Yeah. So every day that I'm working, I'm like totally not, you know, I get into a room to write and I'm like, wow, this is so much fun for me.
Yeah.
And I just listen to like what everybody has been through. And it's so cool to be able to relate to other people. And like they'll come in with an idea or a story or something that they've recently been through. And then I get to be like, okay, let's take that information and see how we can formulate it into a song.
Yeah. Hearing you talk about writing, what came to mind was I was wondering, like, what is your earliest memory of music? Like, what are like earliest memories in general as a kid?
Well, music has always been a big part of my life. Just even like driving in the car with my family. I have 2 younger sisters and we've all been a part of it. Like, which is funny because neither of my parents are into music at all. Like they don't sing, they're not in the music industry, but they've always listened to music when we were younger.
What were they listening to?
Boys to Men, Metallica,
Yes.
Christina Aguilera. It was like a lot of different things.
Boys to Men and Metallica.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I know, right? They're definitely different. But I like first actual memory would be probably myself writing. Because I remember I would keep a journal and I would write everything spelled very phonetically. And my ideas used to always come to me in the bath. So I would be taking a bath and be like, Mom, I need my writing notebook right now. And like she would drop it off for me at the door and slip it underneath and I'd write my ideas out. And that's always how it was for me. I think that honestly would be my first memory of creating music to some extent, but I do know that my mom would go to concerts and things when she was pregnant with me, so like who knows, maybe it just somehow.
Yeah. Your parents were listening to Boys to Men and Metallica. What music were you drawn to? Because like I grew up listening to, my parents listened to country, classic rock and stuff, but I was the only one in my family. I loved anything soulful.
Wow.
I loved Motown.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. That's the thing is I don't know.
That's so cool.
Nobody in my family was into it. I personally loved Mariah Carey, the old Mariah, like first half Mariah. There's like old Mariah, new Mariah. Mariah Carey and Motown, Stevie Wonder, like anything soulful where there was emotion and just soul in the voice. I loved it, but I was the only one in my family, so I don't know where that came from. And I'm curious with you, like what was it for you?
For me, I remember watching, this is so funny. I remember watching a lot of the Barbie movies when I was younger.
Yeah.
And she would sing a lot. Barbie would sing, like when she was a fairy or there was like the dancing princesses. And I would pick apart the different harmonies and I would teach them to my sisters.
Oh,
so I think that watching those movies actually shaped a lot of like how I pull apart different harmonies in my head and things like that.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I listened to Justin Bieber a lot when I was younger.
Okay.
Like all the time. And a lot of like the vocal riffs that he would do, I would pick up on.
Okay.
So I've always been a very like intentional music listener where I hear a lot of the background noises or like the riffs or the cool runs that they're doing and those kinds of things.
And would you practice it yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So pop, like pop kind
Yeah.
of. And what got you into EDM and dance music?
I just stumbled upon it.
Yeah.
Yeah. SoundCloud era of like dance music.
Like you were asked to write something and then you kind of just started moving in that direction.
Yep.
Organically.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were like always into it.
I found it when I was like in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
I found it in college because having not grown up with it, I didn't know about it, didn't know it like it. But in college, I was a bartender, and that was the era when house and pop was merging with like Chris Brown,
Yes.
Neo,
Yes.
Lady Gaga just came out with Just Dance.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer Lopez is On the Floor, and you had this merger of the house sound and pop. So
Yep.
I was just exposed to it because I was just bartending, and the songs would come on. So that's how I was like, and then I would see the energy in the crowd. I would see how they responded to it, and I'm like, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
And I started out as a singer-songwriter, and I didn't put music out for a while because I always felt like something was missing. And then when I got into dance music and I started learning production, I love that there's endless possibility with like sound design and instrumentation you can use.
Yep.
Production. That's how I got into it.
I love that.
Yeah. So your song Scared to Love Again. I'm going to pull up the lyrics. I have them printed out here. Do you have any favorite lyrics that stand out to you?
Let's see. I mean, I think that the like, cause I still see your ghost is kind of like a cool one. Cause I still see your ghost. What really hurts the most is I can't stop thinking of, and then I list all of these different reasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, the reasons don't stop there. They could continue going, but
yeah.
I think it's really interesting how, like, especially because I was a big part of creating the video for this song too, and it's almost like mourning a relationship. So I'm not sure if you've seen it, but I'm standing with a heart, and there's dead roses and live roses and like thistles coming out of this heart, and I'm holding it through the entire song, just like looking at the camera, singing it straight to the camera.
Yeah.
And it, like, just the creating of this song felt so therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
And it was just such a release of emotions where, like, after I wrote that, I was like, all right, I'm good.
That's interesting because I was going to ask you because you wrote it last year. Was that also when you were cheated on and the relationship ended?
Yeah.
How soon after? Was
pretty soon after?
This was like I need to process this,
Yeah.
so I need to write it
Yes.
down. Wow.
And that's what I think is the most cool thing about music in general, because this song was like therapy to me.
Does he? Well, you don't talk to him now. So
No.
Does he know this song exists?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, is this the first time you were cheated on?
Mm-hmm.
I've been cheated on once. It wasn't fun, but I kind of saw it coming because our relationship was breaking down. Like, I get it. I get why. You know what I mean? I was like, well, we weren't in a good place. Things were breaking down, and it's just kind of like inevitable.
But
I didn't feel that way at the time. At the time,
Right.
I was like, I called my mom. I was
Yes.
like, so sad.
But even in retrospect, I feel like the bigger conversation to be had is like, it's not anyone's fault. Like, it's not your fault that you were cheated on. It's not my fault that I was cheated on. I feel like some people might look at the situation and be like, what did I do that caused that? Or
Yeah.
what could I have done differently? And I feel like it's very much of like, it's not me.
Had he cheated on other people before? Was this a pattern that you were like, oh, that's kind of a red flag, but I'm going to give him a chance anyways, or you don't know?
I'm assuming so. This was a long-term relationship. So for me, it was
How long?
almost 10 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's long term.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to write the song encapsulating the emotions of that, and then moving forward and realizing that, like, okay, that's my story and that happened to me, but also I can shape that into whatever I want it to be.
Yeah.
And grow from it, learn from it. I'm totally different now than I was then.
Yeah. So you spend most of your adult life in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So you're newly experiencing this new world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're dating now.
Mm-hmm.
You are dating now? Yeah.
I'm very happy.
Are you, because what I'm curious is like, did you take time for yourself and did you immediately start to meet somebody?
Well, I did, because in my head, I am very much the type of person that's like, I know what I'm looking for. And when I find that, I will know. And that's exactly how it went for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're here pursuing your dreams, pursuing your passions, doing what you're meant to be doing. You're much more set up to meet a proper match now than when you were, what, 15, 16?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That, which totally goes back to me not being the same person as I was then. Everybody's constantly evolving and growing.
Have you had to have conversations with someone you're dating? They know you right based on your life.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I mean, either way, I'm still constantly like, here's a new song, here's a new one if you want to hear it,
Even if it's about them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
And they
I'm
kind of
very
know what they're
happy right
signed
now.
up
So
for.
like, yeah, exactly. And I'm not always writing just about things that I've been through.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is like, let me step outside of myself for a second and put on a head of somebody else and try and write what they're going through also.
When I first, I went from relationship to relationship, 2 long-term relationships, broke up, and then I moved to LA. And I realized I moved to LA, I was like 30 years old. And I realized when I got here, like I was single, but I also realized I'd never had to date before. I never had to go up to a stranger and flirt with them. I never had to ask for a phone number. I never had to do the texting thing. I never had to do I guess I did first dates, but I never did any of that. So when I moved to LA, I was like, I'm 30 years old, like just having to try to learn this stuff for the first time. And it was rough I had to I studied it and practiced,
Yeah.
because I messed up a bunch of times. Like I screwed things up. I really liked someone and I didn't know how to be.
Yeah.
And you kind of mess it up. And then the pain of that, I was like, ooh, I lost that person. Okay, I don't want to go through that again. What can I improve?
Right. But then you learn from it. And then you're like, okay, I know what I can bring into the next thing that was good, or maybe leave a little bit of this behind.
Yeah.
And you find your way.
Well, how are you with growth and learning things, teaching yourself things?
I feel like I'm an immediate learner.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In what way?
In the way that if I do something and I realize I've done something, I'm like, okay, I can change that. And then it's
fast.
just, yeah. But I feel like in general, I've always been very easygoing and just
you seem very easygoing.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're an immediate learner. Are you kind of an intuitive learner, or are you a researcher type of person?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
I like to soak in information, but then in the same I don't know. I feel like in general I'm very hands-on, but that's
Are you a go by my gut, my instinct kind of person?
Yes.
You just feel? Do you feel in touch with yourself?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you had moments, many moments that have confirmed, I was right? So I can trust myself because I've been right.
Yeah. And then, of course,
Many
there's been
times.
times where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not right. But then I learn from that. I'm like, okay, I wasn't right in that situation, but time to learn.
Yeah.
Time to move on and figure out a new way to learn.
This current era of your life, how would you title this era that you're in right now? It's such an abstract question.
The first thing that comes to my mind is honestly just bliss.
Yeah?
I feel so light. I feel so free.
Have you always felt that way, or is this kind of new?
I have, but in a different way.
Okay.
I think because of always having a positive outlook on life in general, I'm able to like look at situations and place myself in a good place.
Okay.
But I think right now I just feel very like open to like love, you know, and just accepting the things that are meant for me will happen.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm going back to your interview with Music Essentials when you had said about, this part, the navigating through past traumas and new relationships. What's it like being in a relationship and things come up? Like, how do you feel? Like, what is that like for you? What are your thoughts on that? Because you said this in an interview, so I was curious. And then something else you said was, you said how complex it can be to share vulnerability with the right person after your heart's been hurt. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that stands so true. Like, being vulnerable is such a beautiful thing, but it's also scary because you don't know how the other person is going to feel about that, or how, if they're going to be accepting of it. And I think that goes even in like just a personal friendship, you know, even a casual thing. Like when you open up to somebody and you don't know how they're going to take it.
Yes.
It's like, I don't even have a word for it because like you look at it like you want to let your guard down a little bit and be vulnerable, which can potentially be so amazing.
Yes.
But you don't fully know.
Yeah, you don't know till you take that leap.
Yeah.
The vulnerability, sharing, the complexity of sharing it with the right person, and then feelings, yeah. So you wrote this song, and then you started dating again. Were you like hesitant at first?
No.
Or were you like, come on, Aviella, like we got this?
I think that was definitely more
like you're not going to be that girl
Yeah.
that's like all scared to love.
Exactly. The song, I was in that space for a bit when I wrote it. But like I said, I think that this song was really therapeutic for me to write, because once I got it out, I was like, okay, I'm good. Like, I can fully feel my emotions now and be like, take a more positive approach.
And when you sing it now, obviously you don't think about the guy anymore. It has, you know, like you've processed and moved on. So what's it like now singing a song like this?
I think especially to look at the video and watch the video and the process of creating that, and then also writing the song, just looking at that girl that I was when I wrote it and thinking like, I'm so proud of you for continuing to push and move forward.
Yeah.
And not be stuck in that, because like, I think it is easy to get stuck in that mindset when something like that does happen.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it does happen and people go through that. And I really wanted to take control of the narrative and be like, okay, I'm going to write this song about it, and then I'm moving on.
Yeah. And you did that, and you have more music coming?
Lots.
Yeah. Lots. Yeah. Are they singles?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And there are different topics?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Is it kind of like the story continues, or are they about various different things?
I've written tons. So like right now I have a huge folder of things that I'm just like saving up. And I definitely do want to continue the story in a different way. So I'm still like piecing together how exactly I'm going to do it. But yes, I just really feel so grateful that I'm able to share my life through music with other people. And that the things that I go through are things that other people also go through, and that we can experience it together.
Yeah. Would you ever kind of pull the curtain back and let people see your writing process? Or do you like...
Oh, yeah.
Do you like kind of like going away and then just presenting it a finished product? No,
I think the whole process start to finish is very cool. And like, it's very artistic to me. And that's my favorite part, honestly.
I really like seeing the artists that post the song with like the verses in written, and then they let people write the verse. And then,
wow.
Have you seen that?
I've seen a couple people do that on TikTok. Where it's like live and they're recording it.
Yeah, the one I saw that I'm thinking of is, do you know Teddy Swims?
Yes.
So he's doing it right now. He's doing a campaign. He has a song, and he posted a video, and the video has the music of the verse, and then he comes in with the chorus. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing being sung during the verse music. And then people on TikTok and Instagram, they're writing a verse and singing it, and then they're doing like what's that called?
A duet?
Yeah. They're duetting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he pre-recorded the video.
Yeah.
And then he leaves space for them, and they sing what they wrote, and it's beautiful.
That's so cool.
I love that. I love the collaboration.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I would love to do something like that.
I would love to see that.
Yeah. Or even just like when I get in the room, I get so excited that I don't even think of like setting up my camera and like trying to record the process. Yes. But I do think that would be a really cool thing to do.
I am going to speak on behalf of everybody listening. We would love to see it. We would love to see notes and like little clips of you writing, coming up with ideas. Like that's so interesting to see that, especially if it materializes into a song.
Mm-hmm.
But also we get to know you too, because we're just kind of like watching you in your process.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is, and this is something I had to learn too. It's the people on my team taught me this, and they were saying like it's because I went like a year or 2 years on social media where I literally posted twice on Instagram in the course of like an entire year.
Wow.
Because I just was going through a moment
Yeah.
where I was working on myself,
Right.
and I just didn't feel like I had anything to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved on from I just was over the whole like just taking random photos of myself. I was gonna be like, hey guys, here's another photo of me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't want to do that. And I want to do like the shirtless thirst trap thing. I
Yeah.
did that for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
That was, a moment.
Yeah.
I outgrew that. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, well, until I have something to say, I'm not saying anything. And if my
Right.
account suffers, fuck it. you
Yeah.
know?
You want to be like true to yourself and intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm very active. But my
Mhm.
team was the one that taught me. They were like, it's like working out. I like to layer things
Mhm.
for me. Like that's
Mhm.
how you're an instant learner.
Mhm.
I'm like a layered learner.
That totally makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for me, if I want to like lose weight, I have to first get used to going to the gym, and then I'll add my diet on
Right.
top of that, and then
Which totally
I'll add
makes sense.
supplements.
Yeah.
I can't do everything at once. I have to
Yeah.
like
There's steps to it.
it's like integrating.
Yes.
I'm like I'm gonna integrate this
Yep.
behavior and that behavior.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah, but you're instant.
I think so. Yeah.
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 Well, that's great. I wish I was instant, but I guess we're all just different.
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
the cool thing.
Yeah.
And
I found
also,
what works.
I understand taking it in like a little bit at a time too.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Especially because I travel a lot. I have several different projects I'm doing. It's the only way I can do it and be sane, and also save mental space.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like if like when I was figuring out my supplements, I spent like a couple months like researching the hell out of them, but like that was a lot of mental
Right.
resources I was spending. But
Yep.
now I don't have to think about it. I just
Yeah.
reorder when something is out.
Right. Because you've already done the previous work behind it.
Yeah.
So now it just comes naturally.
That's the only way I could do the show and
Mhm.
DJ and
Mhm.
write music and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. So we're coming to the end of the show. Is there
Remix.
what remix?
Can you hear him in the microphone ever?
No, I don't hear him.
He's so cute.
Maybe very slightly. Yeah, he's our little mascot here.
I love it.
So Aviella, yeah, we're coming to the end here. Those of you listening on Adobe Radio, the full video version of this conversation, because it is video, is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. So you can go there and watch it. And in the description, we tag your socials so people can find you that way.
Amazing. Thank you.
I want to encourage everyone to check out your song, Scared to Love Again. Super catchy. Anything else you want to add before we go?
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so enlightening.
How was it? How was it? Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I loved having you on. Super easy to talk to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So are you.
Really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay. Well, that's it with Life Rhythms. Thank you guys. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for
Bye.
coming on.
Thank you.